The proposed new assisted dying law that will be debated in the UK Parliament is very closely modelled on the Death with Dignity Act, which has been in place in Oregon since 1997. We visited the US state to investigate how its assisted death law has been operating. 29-year-old Brittany Maynard has had her application for an assisted death accepted by doctors in Portland, Oregon. She decided to request life-ending medication after unsuccessful surgery for her brain tumour.
They removed a large chunk of my left frontal lobe, and they said that I may have up to 10 years to live. The problem was that 70 days later, after my surgery, I had a follow-up MRI and was told a drastically different story. I had a high-grade tumor, most likely the most deadly glioblastoma, and that I had less than 6 months to live.
I was hoping that the surgery did what it did, and that hopefully there isn't much change, there isn't much progress with the tumor, that it's staying where it is. But unfortunately, when that wasn't the case, then, again, you get hit with that wave of you're scared, you're anxious, what do we do now?
Brittany and Dan carefully investigated all of the treatments available before deciding to move from their home in California to Oregon so that Brittany could apply for an assisted death under the Death with Dignity Act.
I have chosen to deny chemo and radiation because I've been told at most it may add 6 months to my life, but I would not even be, it would alter the fabric of who I am as a person. And I would rather live out my life shorter as myself and in less suffering.
Over the last few months, Brittany has been spending precious time with Dan, her family and her friends, fulfilling lifelong ambitions. She's also been going through the formal process of getting her prescription for her end-of-life medication.
I submitted 2 verbal requests, 15 days apart as required, in addition to a written request. I also went to a panel interview at the hospital with my family. It really was a very supportive process. And then when I was approved, we picked up my prescription and I've had it for weeks. So like I said, I'm in no rush to utilize it. I am in no rush to die. It is just a huge relief to me that if and when my suffering becomes too great, that I have a way to pass peacefully.
The actual process, sequebarbital is the drug. It's a sleeping drug. That's how it's been used in the past. So they take it, and within about 5 minutes, they're asleep, and within about 30 minutes, they expire. It's not a violent thing. It's not, clearly it's an emotional thing.
In Oregon, a doctor is not required to be present when a patient self-administers the life-ending medication. But the bill in the UK Parliament will require a doctor or nurse to oversee this process. Only 9 other people in Oregon, like Brittany, aged 21 to 32, have chosen to have an assisted death since the physician-assisted dying law came into force in the state. The vast majority of people that are using it are aged 65 or older. Dr. Bentz is a physician in Oregon and is part of an organisation that opposes the Death with Dignity Act. He believes the law is being abused and that predominantly it is older patients that are the victims.
We have a lot of people saying things here in Oregon are running well. It actually has harmed a number of people. There have been patients with dementia, patients who don't even know that they have cancer, who have been given assisted suicide with coercion by family members. There have been patients who have been diagnosed as clinically depressed, who have been given an assisted suicide dose of medication.
The proposed law to be considered by the UK Parliament will require doctors to send patients for psychiatric assessments if they have doubts about their mental capacity to request an assisted death. This provision is in the Oregon law as well.
Patients don't get their depression addressed or assessed or treated. And so the fact is that we have all these patients wanting to kill themselves, and very few are being evaluated for depression.
Dr. Bence is not just concerned about the reported abuses of the law, he's also worried about how it's being used much more widely.
Now in Oregon, if you have insulin-dependent diabetes, it's considered a terminal illness and you are eligible for assisted suicide, because with diabetes, if you don't take your insulin, you have a fatal disease.
In Oregon, 1,173 prescriptions have been issued for life-ending drugs, and 752 people have died from taking the medication. Brittany believes that everyone should have access to Oregon's Death with Dignity law, and thinks the proposals in the UK will offer patients in her position even more safeguards.
I think it's really important that all terminally ill people have this choice. And it sounds like the UK is even protecting patients a step further by mandating that a physician be present. Quite frankly, I'm terrified. I am a brave person, and I know I will choose to go and enter the unknown, proud of who I am and the way I've lived my life. I'm afraid to suffer more than I should, but I don't think that I will, because I think I have the strength of character to choose when to go.